All right, I've got a couple big announcements for you guys. Number one, PFF's player prop tool is now available on the web for all PFF Plus subscribers. And number two, PFF Plus is 40% off right now. If you use the promo code BLACKFRIDAY, you get all of the same data, grades, and analytics that all 32 NFL teams use, all 136 FBS teams use. As well, you get access to our 2026 NFL mock draft simulator, that world-class player prop tool that can help you nail all of your bets, and of course, the best fantasy football tools on the planet as well. Again, 40% off PFF Plus right now when you use the promo code BLACKFRIDAY.
At Oregon, at Washington, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS. The Cascade Clash in this one, big rivalry game. Oregon looking to lock up a spot in the college football playoff. Oregon won the biggest game of Week 13 this past week by beating number 15 USC by a 42-27 final score, ending USC's hopes of making the playoff. Oregon now 10-1 on the year. They need just one more win over their rival in Washington in order to secure at least a home game in the college football playoff. Oregon has to go on the road, though, in this one and play a Washington team that's a top 25 team right now in PFF's power rankings and in my personal top 25 as well. If the Ducks lose this game, they're in danger of missing the playoff altogether at 10-2 because they would be grouped in with teams like BYU, Miami, Vanderbilt, maybe Michigan if they win that game as well. And some of those resumes, I would say, are better than Oregon's right now. So we'll see the best versus most deserving argument that the playoff committee always has. Maybe Oregon still gets in at 10-2, but they'd be in trouble at 10-2 if they lost this game. The Ducks also have a chance at defending their Big Ten title this week if they win and Ohio State loses to Michigan. So ironically, while a Michigan win could hurt Oregon's chances if they lose this game to Washington, a Michigan win would help Oregon, would actually send Oregon to Indianapolis if they beat Washington this weekend. That would send Oregon to the Big Ten title game, Dalton. So it's a lot on the line still for Oregon in this game.
Oh, plenty on the line. And you mentioned it. You know, we haven't mentioned them yet as a possibility, and it's a very real possibility against arguably their biggest rival going on the road. We've seen in the past. Now, it's not Michael Penix anymore, but we've seen in the past this Washington game has been the biggest hurdle for Oregon. And if they do lose, their best win of the year is a USC win. Okay, I respect that, right? They beat USC pretty handily. But otherwise, Iowa, Minnesota, Rutgers, it's not the most stacked resume we've ever seen, especially out of conference. There's basically nothing. So you look at this Oregon team, look, you don't want to take any chances here, right? You need to come out 11-1, you're set. Home game, Autzen Stadium, that's going to be a whole lot of fun first round of the playoff.
Maybe
right?
if you make the Big Ten title game and win the Big Ten, you get a first round bye.
Mess around and be in the top 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Actually, that's true. That is a real scenario.
Yeah.
Like we believe Michigan has a shot against Ohio State. They've certainly won 4 in a row, and if Oregon wins this game, then you're on to something there, right? So there's a lot in front of them. But flip side, again, if you lose, it gets a little dicey. It's kind of the same thing as Ole Miss here, where it's like, there's not that much on this resume when it comes to big wins, so this would be a big one on the road against a very good Washington team that can put up points. I think this is a huge game for Oregon, and Dan Lanning knows it.
You have that Washington offense that's been really dangerous all year, Dalton, against what's been an elite Oregon defense. What should you know on that side of the ball?
I think when you're looking at the matchup here and the difference in Washington's good games and not, I've talked a lot about Damon Williams and his ability to run the football, but it really is them as a unit, right? Jonah Coleman, at least somewhat expected to come back in this game and be 100% healthy. He's been banged up lately. You look at the job that, guys like Adam Muhammad and Jordan Washington have done the last couple weeks filling in for him. You've got depth in this running back room, and Damon Williams is one of the most dangerous, one of the most mobile quarterbacks in the country, whether that's a read option threat or as a scrambler. Washington's rushing metrics this year, 15th in rushing grade, 16th in yards after contact per carry, 11th in explosive run rate. I know they have Denzel Boston on the outside, and the wide receiving core and Damon Williams' arm and the deep passing can be a problem, but it's really more about stopping the run when you're talking about this playing against this Huskies team. Oregon, how about the lowest explosive run rate now allowed in the Power 4 at just 6.3%? I think it starts with this defensive line. Tatum Tuioti, Mateo Uiagalelei, Bear Alexander, Amari Washington, then the linebackers behind him, especially Bryce Betcher there at linebacker, Dylan Thieneman coming down from that safety spot. This Oregon run defense, I think they were fantastic last week. What was it? 65 rushing yards they gave up to USC. They were outstanding against USC last week, made them one-dimensional. If they can do the same thing to Washington, I think they like their chances because they only give up explosive passes at a top 12 rate in the country, okay? So you're talking about, I think, make Damon Williams beat you with his arm. I still think make him hand the ball off and make them run right into the meat of your defensive line and then keep him contained when he's trying to get out of the pocket and scramble. Rushing is the big asset here for Washington. If Oregon can slow down the run game, I like their chances to succeed on defense again.
Yeah, I have Oregon's offensive line against Washington's defensive line in this game. So Oregon's offense has been great this year, right? Dante Moore has been one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I would argue right now should be the first quarterback taken in the NFL draft if he does declare for that draft. Oregon also has the highest rushing grade in the country this year. Guys like Noah Whittington and true freshman Jordan Davison playing outstanding football for them. But it's the 5 men up front for Oregon on that offensive line that allow Dante Moore and those running backs and Kenyon Sadiq and those receivers to succeed in the first place. Right now, Oregon has a 77 offensive line grade, 10th among all offensive lines in the country. 89.4 pass blocking grade is over 3 points higher than any other team in college football as well. But the Ducks are dealing with some injuries along that offensive line. Their star center, Yapani Lalulu, left the game against USC with a foot injury, and left tackle Isaiah World only played in 19 snaps in that game due to an ankle injury that he suffered the week before as well. So Oregon, and Alex Harkey has battled injuries all year, it seems like, too. So Oregon, with their star center hurt, star left tackle was recovering from an injury as well. Their right tackles had injuries all year too. Oregon has had some injuries along their offensive line that can make it interesting to see how this offensive line plays against Washington. Washington's defensive line has been relatively average this year, 77.6 grade as a unit, which is 51st in the country. They're 43rd in yards before contact per attempt allowed, and they're 42nd in pressure rate. About 1 out of every 3 dropbacks Washington gets a pressure this year. If they can't hold their own at the line of scrimmage in this game against Oregon's offensive line, they don't stand much of a chance, I think, at pulling off this upset.
No, I agree. You have to disrupt, A, Dante Moore's rhythm, and B, this run game that's been so good with Noah Whittington and Jordan Davison and just the slew of running backs they throw at you, right? And they have so many weapons on the outside as well, and a couple of them have been hurt lately. And Zachorian Moore and Gary Bryant, they found a way to score a bunch of points anyway. So I think the thing is you got to beat Oregon in the trenches. They have balance. If they get to running 7-8 yards of carry on you, you're going to have a problem because then Dante Moore is going to have that space in the passing game to work with, get into the play-action game, throwing the ball down the seam like we saw last week to Kenyon Sadiq. So I really think it is dangerous, but these offensive line injuries at least give Washington some level of evening out in the trenches here, that feeling like they could compete in there.
So ultimately, Dalton, will Washington put an end, or may not put an end, Oregon's to be alive in the playoff race, but significantly put an end to Oregon's hopes of hosting a first-round playoff game, or will Oregon win this game in the Cascade Clash over their rival and also hope for a Michigan upset over Ohio State?
I think you're going to get a battle because Washington is still really hard to beat in their home stadium, right? I think that is an issue, and they do have, when they're fully healthy, an explosive offense and an explosive run game that can be relied on to make big plays for them. But I do think Dan Lanning and this defense really have taken a step up the last few weeks. I think you saw what they did against USC, especially holding that team to 65 yards rushing when, very quietly USC was getting better at running the ball as the year went on, and they just shut them down completely. And I just think Oregon's ability to prevent explosive plays is going to play a big factor in this. Their defense, and then, of course, Dante Moore, he just really doesn't have a whole lot of pulse. You've never really seen him. Maybe against Indiana. That was the only time we saw him rattled all season. I don't think you're going to see more rattled even in a tough road environment. I do think it's going to be a fight, but I've got the Ducks 35-27.
I have Oregon, similar score, 34-24 over Washington. I think their offense would be too much for an average Washington defense to handle in this game. I think Oregon wins the Cascade Clash over their rival, and they secure at least a home game in the first round of the playoff with a 34-24 win over Washington.